TGIF, thank God it's fish. It's a Friday night in Frisco, Texas. Beautiful, hot, beautiful, muggy, but beautiful in the home of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusty and trusted reporter. This is the Fishbowl. That is the Star. And yes, dysfunction in Dallas. Again, if you want to know what a lame duck locker room, a potentially fractured, potentially frayed, possibly selfish locker room smells like, take a whiff. Oh, there's the 6 bongs on the wall. 3 items tonight. That's right, 3 items. One of them we're going to make into a really easy solve. That's the CeeDee Lamb contract dispute. And the news now, he is whispering through his representatives that he is prepared to sit out training camp. Whoa, what? Except, wait a minute. Of course he is. He's got to say that. He's got to at least threaten that. He's probably got to do it. If the Cowboys in the next couple weeks here, we show up to training camp on the 23rd, so there's 3 weeks and change. If the Cowboys don't make their big move in the next 3 weeks, he'll make his big move. And I totally understand the reaction. Oh, no, I do. It's not good. Contract holdouts, because he is under contract. Contract holdouts are by nature dysfunctional. But Soto, I was summoned here. What's going on? You, Soto, if you're a Cowboys fan, has come to the right place. Dante, hi, Fish. Long time no see. Welcome back. Thank you for being, many of you, hopefully coming to pass, all of you, almost 71,000 fish heads in Cowboy Nation now subscribe to what we do here, and we do very much appreciate it. This is going to look and feel like a crisis. If we get to the 23rd and CeeDee Lamb doesn't show up, we will write about it. We will talk about it. I'll be in Oxnard. We'll sit right here and talk about it in Oxnard on the beach. And it'll get settled. I'm going to actually twist it on you this way. Watch this. This is actually good. We know what the price tag is. We know what the price tag is on CeeDee Lamb. Round it off. Matt Smeltzer, Uncle Fish Premium. I've been missing the show lately. Love it. And love it a lot lately. Thank you. There is no off season around here. Hey, how do I get the circle and the star like all these fellas? Ask these fellas and they'll show you how. Somebody's got to step on the gas here. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a 30 or 32 or 30 or $35 million a year player. He just is. And we know he is. And by the way, that's been the case. We've known that now for months. So somebody step on the accelerator and let's hurry up and get there. The holdout of CeeDee Lamb at training camp, if it gets to that, will accelerate the process. Now, a lot of you are pointing out the Zach Martin thing. Right, Zach Martin sat out a couple days and eventually got a piece of what he wanted. There is a difference. With all due respect to the great Zach Martin, he had signed a top-of-market deal. And then was, as we know, coming to the end of his career and made one more grab for the bag. Don't blame him. This is a little different. CeeDee Lamb's just starting out. CeeDee Lamb hadn't made any money, relatively speaking, yet. This is CeeDee Lamb's first big contract, as opposed to Zach Martin's last medium-sized money grab. It's a little different, but the framework is the same. I deserve what I deserve. I'm not coming to work until you pay me. the CeeDee Lamb contract holdout threat is actually a positive. And I'm not trying to be a contrarian. I mean it. Item 2, Fish, where'd you get the photo behind you? I don't know what you mean by auto photo. That's the photo taken by the photographer at the Star Telegram of Aikman, Emmett, and Irvin, and then they got it autographed for me. Or it got autographed for me. I can't remember how it came about. But that's the photograph. The 5 rings over there, that's a whole nother story over there. That's 5 Cowboys Super Bowl rings. Kind of. The CeeDee Lamb holdout is a good thing. Item 2. And I saw all your comments. By the way, we're going to give away the Straight Dope No Bullsh hat. It's 4th of July, so we're giving away the 4th of July hat. Straight Dope No Bullsh, 4th of July. Who's going to win it? You got 5 more minutes to type in the 4 names. You must be a subscriber. Type in the 4 names that you think should be on Mount Rushmore. I've already given you this morning. It's Tom Landry Park. And then you can do whatever you want. You want to put Landry up there, put him up there. With your help, I've decided on my 4th. I got Tom Landry Park. I got Roger. He embodies all of it. I got Emmett. He embodies all of it. These guys are more than just football greats. They're symbols. I got Mr. Cowboy Bob Lilly. Same thing. I got 1 more slot. And I'm going to explain to you. And yes, Jerry Jones's name belongs in this conversation. The timing's not quite right for Jerry to have you say yes. But history will remember that Jerry Jones is a name that belongs up there. Jason Witten is another guy that symbolizes things here. So does Drew Pearson. So does D. Ware. Randy White. Pamela wants to put Jimmy up there. Here's why I made the very difficult choice, very personally difficult choice of picking, in addition to Roger, Emmett, Lilly, I came down to Aikman versus Irvin. And here's why I picked Irvin. Number 1, first of all, I'm biased towards both of them, obviously. I picked Irvin because he symbolizes all the stuff. Aikman kind of symbolizes all the good. Aikman's a Mr. Cowboy in all the good way. Lilly is the original Mr. Cowboy, all the good way. Roger Staubach isn't just Cowboy, he's Captain America. Irvin symbolizes all of it. Michael symbolizes greatness, effort, discipline of a sort, focus, will, personality, humor, intelligence, and the other stuff. I decided that on the Cowboys Mount Rushmore, somebody up there might as well represent the other stuff. Let NFL Films make it all about all the raid. She was a stormy shit. There's bad stuff. Let's put the bad stuff. Like, I don't think we should take O.J. Simpson out of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but I think maybe there should be another little plaque right next to his bust. I think Pete Rose should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and there should be a little plaque there that tells the story. It's a museum of baseball, is it not? A museum of football, right? You put Michael Irvin up there and let the entire story be told. not just the glory of the Cowboys, the whole thing. Michael Irvin's the whole thing. And that's why he's my fourth guy on Cowboys Mount Rushmore. And item 3. We dealt with this with brother, mama drama, where we got CeeDee Lamb's mom saying that Dak sucks. We got Micah's brother saying that everybody sucks, and we got Dak's brother saying everything sucks except Dak. I got to get Dak out of here. And it went away. And now it's back. And Micah's in the middle of it. And there's some ignorant irony to this. And it should bother you. And I don't know if you know the story yet. If you don't know the story yet, give me a minute and it will bother you. So Malik Hooker, veteran, goes on Keyshawn Johnson's podcast. I don't know why. And calls out MICAH for potentially caring more about the podcast than about, quote, the success of our team. Uh-oh. My advice to Micah would be just make sure we're all right and being where your feet are, Hooker says. Because if we're at work and the run game's terrible, but you're doing a podcast every week and you know the run game's terrible, then what do you really care about? This is Malik talking into a megaphone to Micah and the world. You caring about the crowd that's watching your podcast, or are you caring about the success of our team and the Super Bowl that we're trying to reach? Ruh-roh. I've seen some people react to this by saying, I knew there was guys that felt that way. Of course you knew there was guys that felt that way. We've talked about it. The head coach said it. Michael Irvin has said it. Guys like Rob Gronkowski have said it. And Micah basically tells him, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. By the way, the argument that Parsons is a brilliant player, true as that is, just got done with 14 sacks, finished top 3 in Defensive Player of the Year award, voting for the 3rd consecutive year, is not the point. If it's a Lawrence Taylor situation where, listen, he's going to be coked up. We've tried and tried and tried. That he's going to use coke. He's going to get suspended. He's going to get 3 sacks. He's going to show up late for meetings. He's going to have a gambling problem. He's going to have a problem with women. And we've done everything we can. Then, you know what? We're just going to try to harness it and brace ourselves and hope we get through the year. Well, we're not there on Micah. He just got here. He's 25 years old. So we don't have to give up yet on the idea that, we already got 14 sacks. Let him do whatever he wants. Micah's brilliance as a player is not the point when it comes to let him do what he wants, although ultimately that might be what happens. His brilliance as a player is if you would focus and communicate, you would be even better. We would be even better. Should Malik have said it? Let's work on the maybe assumption that Malik knows, that Malik himself maybe has already said something like this to Micah, that it's already been communicated to Micah. Hey, and by the way, it's not just the podcast. I've seen a lot of people say, well, other guys have podcasts. It's not, it's the whole, it's the bigger than life persona. It's the need that Micah has on social media to comment on every single thing that happens in the world, every foul in a playoff game. Micah's got to comment on it. Brittany Griner gets arrested. Micah's got a comment on it. Everything. Just turn it down. Just turn it down. And I know guys have told him that. So let's pretend for a moment that for the sake of this conversation, that Malik has, and that now he's saying it out loud. Should he say it out loud? I guess he should say it out loud if he thinks it's a last resort and it's the only way I'm going to help get it done. Tucked into this, however, is another part, and I haven't delved into this yet. At cowboyscountry.com, we've already got 2 stories up on this. The first story is what Malik said about Micah. The second story is Micah's response. Jason Wright, you are a genius because you are going where I'm ending up. Somewhere in this conversation, Keyshawn asked Malik about the pecking order of contracts. And again, I haven't dug into this. And somehow Malik Hooker said, yeah, he should be 4th. Whoa, no. Now that's different. Hey, kid, make sure you're focusing on the football team and not your hashtag 53 brands. That's what this is, you know. This is a locker room and a building that knows that the entire thing is, that this whole process is lame duck. This is what happens. You don't pull together like in the movie Major League because the mean old lady owner wants to move the team. You don't pull together. You fall apart. There used to be a rule, having said all that. I don't even know. Malik Hooker saying he should be 4th. I don't even know who's the other one. Who's 3rd? Again, I'll delve into it. We'll get into it later. Number one, and I don't care how many times Jeremy Fowler at ESPN screws this up, there is no pecking order. The Cowboys do not have a pecking order. They are not saying we've got to do this guy first and that guy second. If Micah Parsons came to them today and said, I used to want $35 million a year, but now I'll do it for 29, Micah Parsons would be signed first. There is no Cowboy pecking order. That's made up. Having said that, as somebody points out here, it is my job to talk about money and contracts. Man, I must be an old man because I come from a place where players in the Cowboys locker room did not talk about each other's money. Did not. You want me to tell you my Pepsi can story on the plane between Emmett and James Washington? Bob Heck says, thank you for the pitch in, says that Malik said that CeeDee, Zach, Dak, and Micah. Zach? He doesn't have any idea what if that's what he said, and I trust you, Bob, I don't have any idea what he's talking about. Zach Martin's thinking of retiring. He's not trying to get a new contract. Shh. If you don't know what you're talking about, shut up. If that's what Malik Hooker said, he just made an arse of himself in a couple of ways. One, Zach Martin's thinking of retiring. Two, the Pepsi can story. They're flying back on the plane, on the team plane after a victory. And Emmitt Smith is in row 5 of the airplane. James Washington is in row 8. And Emmett can hear James Washington back there grousing about his contract. Why'd they pay him this? And I don't remember this. I don't know if it was about Emmett's contract. I don't know if it was about Thomas Everett. Why do they pay him this? Why don't they pay me that? Why don't they do? And Emmett, he's got his tray of food, including a can of Pepsi, and he stands up, and I'm not saying he drilled him, but he threw the can of Pepsi at James Washington's forehead, a full can of Pepsi, and hit him right smack in the forehead. his way of saying, of reminding, we don't talk about money in here. You talk about money with your agent, you talk about money with your wife, you talk about money with your mistress, and you talk about money with Jerry. We don't do that in here. Well, apparently that's changed, and it's changed for the worse. Who the Cowboys sign it's Malik Hooker's private business, but it's not his public business. Malik Hooker could have just opened up a four-way can of worms instead of just a one-way can of worms with MICAH. He could have opened up a four-way can of worms, depending on who he said and what order he said. If he said CeeDee Lamb should be fourth, CeeDee Lamb's looking at this quote going, who the hell are you? Who put you in charge? If he said Dak should be fourth, or Dak should be... MICAH has every right, in fact, to go, wait a minute. What do you know about my contract? You don't know anything about my contract. And then there's this, and this is the irony on top of the irony. In addition to hashtag 53 brands, which is where this all comes from. I got a podcast, you got a podcast. I go on my podcast and I talk about you. You go on your podcast and you talk about me. I got a Twitter account. I'm trying to monetize it. So I talk about you. You got a Twitter account. You see that I talk about you. You talk about me. Let's get on TikTok. Can we make money on TikTok? Let's dance. Who wants to dance? The irony that this collection of buffoons, this confederacy of dunces, these lame ducks who can't figure out how to waddle out of their own way. Think about it. Hooker criticizes MICAH's podcasting by talking on a podcast. Parsons expresses his displeasure. So Parsons has gone public. Of course he's gone public. How could MICAH Parsons possibly? He wants to talk about the Boston Celtics foul. He wants to talk about the 7th game of the Stanley Cup. He wants to talk about Brittany Griner. He wants to talk about the presidency. How could he possibly resist talking about when people are talking about him? How can he resist? Some could. Some would just sit back on a Friday night with a fine glass of whatever it is MICAH Parsons drinks and just relax. Malik Hooker's got nothing to do with you and your contract. But MICAH, he's got to respond, and he does. I just wish you would have said this to me instead of on some podcast. You got my number, fam. You're my locker mate. You could have said this to me any day, and you realize I shoot the podcast on our off day. Now here we go. I shoot the podcast on our off day. And why ain't we talking about everyone's preparations? Oh boy. Why aren't we talking about everyone's focus leading up to game week? Oh, brother. I mean, MICAH says, I can point out a lot of other things, but I'm just not gonna. And you can smell it. You can feel it. It's burning. It's fraying. They're pointing fingers, and it's not even July. The locker room is frayed, and they're not even in the locker room. Can they fix it? Of course they can fix it. They fixed brother, mama drama. They'll fix this. But why should they have to? Why do they keep doing this to themselves? As Chris Newman points out, they are breaking all sorts of cardinal rules of how to run a team. You don't talk about each other's money. You don't talk. You don't let your mama talk about your quarterback. You tell your brother to shut up and go get himself a job and a life. And by the way, Micah took down this. Somebody told Micah, take that tweet down. So maybe he gets it this much. Steven, they're mad they lost again. That was 6 months ago. Lobo, the locker room is a reflection of the Cowboys management. You're preaching to the choir. Where do you think hashtag 53 brands comes from? This is an organizational mess. But here's guys who are professing to be team leaders, and they're ignorant as to how they are now feeding the flame, feeding the fire. Robert Coleman, McCarthy needs to get this locker room under control. Yes. Problem. Training camp in for 3 weeks. These players are off, which, by the way, is another reason this is happening. They're sitting around diddling their dicks. They're twiddling their dicks. They got nothing to do. They already worked out. They already checked their bank account. They hugged their baby. They said hello to their wife. They said hello to their mistress. And now it's time to busy ourselves. Let's go on a podcast. Why, Malik? Let's respond on Twitter. Why, Micah? Public workers, at least they're not getting arrested again. Dude. It's June 28th. You ain't seen nothing yet on NFL arrests. The guys that they get sick of twiddling their dicks and they go cause trouble. You ain't seen nothing yet. There's 3 more weeks to go. Three more weeks of this. But now the twisted irony that demonstrates that some of these guys are too selfish or ignorant to understand the irony of the irony. Hooker's criticism of podcasting came where? While he was talking on a podcast. Micah's expression of displeasure about why didn't you come to me man to man, face to face, is done typing on a keyboard. Micah, why didn't you go to him face to face? Well, you have Malik, you have my number. That means you have his number. At some point, and I appreciate the idea that Mike McCarthy should do this or something. First of all, again, this is an organizational deal. Hashtag 53 brands. That's part of this. Mike McCarthy, nobody will ever fix that. The only person that can fix that is Jerry Jones. But I do believe what Barry Switzer used to believe, that some of these guys most of these guys are men. They're men. They shouldn't need Mike McCarthy to babysit their Twitter account. They shouldn't need to go through the PR department to say, you think I should go on a podcast with Keyshawn Johnson and talk about Micah's contract? I don't know. What do you think? I got to be able to trust these guys. Listen, as an organization, I will help them figure out how to balance their checkbook because half of them don't know how to do it when they get here. I will help them figure out how to get the electricity turned on in their apartment because half of them don't know how to do that when they get here, and that's okay. So nobody ever taught them that. I will literally, not me, I will literally have someone teach them how to put a condom on a banana, which really does happen at the Rookie Symposium. I don't want to have anything to do with their banana or the condom, but somebody will teach them that. But they got to learn something. They got to do part of it. I can advise Micah, dude, just dial it down a little bit. I can go to Malik and say, you really should have done that face-to-face with him. And keep it in-house. I can go to Randy Gregory once and say, hey, Randy, you forgot to pay the rent again. I'm not going to Randy Gregory every month. At some point, it's you. Dallas Cowboy in the locker room. At some point, it's you. Fish out.